This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason Glick, what's going on?
Hey, well, what's going on is my thoughts on Robert Kirkman's latest effort to make lightning strike thrice after his landmark successes with The Walking Dead and Invincible. Because while longtime listeners and readers know that I love the heck out of those series, it's like I also respect the fact that he's still trying to put out new series that he's written in order to find just in order to just recapture that magic, or just show that he's more than just those series. Now, I talked about like one of his other efforts, Outcast last year, and that was fine. I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it was on the level of his best work. And you've also got his other series that series he surprise launched, Die Die Die, which is his and Scott Gimple's thoughts our modern political landscape, with the artistic talents of the very impressive Chris Burnham, which it's like I kind of respect you for what they were, but I not sure if it's like if you're not attuned to um their particular political beliefs, then I can't really imagine how you're going to appreciate that title. And then you've got Oblivion Song, which is something that he launched like back in 2018, and that had at the time had the appreciable gimmick of him launching it with the initial first 6 issues done, and solicitable to the to retailers as a first volume. So basically, retailers could rest assured knowing that these first 6 issues were done and would ship on time. It's without any delays, which hey, it's cool and all, but I think that it's a marketing gimmick that he would utilize to much better effect like couple of years later with Firepower, when he just basically launched the first volume of the series as just volume zero Prelude, which basically just was like the whole first issue as first volume, which is something that I think that some image creators were doing, but not in not to the same way that Kirkman and Chris Samney had done in that volume. But getting back to Oblivion Song itself, it also launched with a high concept as well. Basically, the idea was that this is a world much like our own, like except for the fact that couple years back, oh, sorry, 10 years back, it had been hit with an event called the Transference. Basically, a large section of the city of Philadelphia had disappeared and been replaced with a it's like with an area full of weird organic growths and monsters, and no one knew what had caused this. 300,000 people were disappeared as a result of this event, and even though it's humanity had managed to subdue the alien threats that had appeared, with this with the transference, there was still the matter of the people who disappeared that day. And while a monument was erected in order to memorialize their disappearance and what was thought to be their deaths, one man had not given up on this. That man was Nathan Cole, and he was someone who actually made it back after the transference happened, because well, it turns out that his technology that he'd been working on with his think tank may have had something to do with this, like with the transference itself. So basically, he's just been working. He initially started working with the government, try and get all the people who were lost after the transference, back to our world. But after these people and their these rescues started drying up, the government basically realized that okay, that's it, we're done here. But Nathan just kept working with his friends, Duncan and Bridget. Duncan, who had been a rescue from Oblivion, who was just who was dealing with his own form of PTSD, after being brought back from that from that world. It's like Nathan is just like determined to just make to rescue everyone there. And it's not until recently that he's finally started to make some headway in terms of like, actually getting some finding some people who like who were missing from the initial rescue and then bringing them back, and also like finding out that, oh, it turns out there's some other people here who are still living there. It's like, and they've actually like they've actually been wanting to come back. They've actually living in Oblivion, like in the whole, like, hey, yeah, we're just like forging our own like lifestyle here. It's like we're just like living on our own terms and having to deal with any of the bullshit of modern society. This includes Nathan's ne'er do well brother, Edward. It's like who was like in debt to some kind of nasty people here. It's like before he disappeared with everyone else in the transference. And this is all in the first volume, and so you think that that a lot of the mystery of the series is going to be dealt with, like like the actual nature of the transference, and also just like what all these people and what like along with what Edward and these other people want, like in terms of like like how are they going to be able to stay in Oblivion? It's like, or are they going to like just just, or are they going to want to come back once Nathan offers them the chance to. Well, the first 12 issues, 2 volumes, first hardcover like of the series basically all deal with that. And it's, and on one hand, when I was reading this series, it's like in its volumes form, because it's 6 volumes total, I was kind of surprised that like, hey, like, well, you've wrapped up the main the main story in this first volume kind of awkwardly a bit, because one of the issues I had with the second volume was that Edward is like kind of fanatical about oh my god, like Oblivion is so good. I mean, yeah, you got all these monsters that are gonna kill everyone. Like, yeah, it's like everyone's like living hand to mouth. It's like, and there's all these other crazy things living over here, but no, it's much better than like the world we're living in. It's like you think, okay, I can kind of see where you're getting at here, but you're also being kind of crazy about it as well. And it kind of leads to like a big, it's like almost kind of second transference with that he basically has to butt heads with his brother over. But like the first like these first 12 issues are kind of sort of a complete story. It's like, as like we get the initial like issue the initial issues with the transference. It's like, and everyone like who's living in Oblivion, and some people who are still like doing their own thing on Earth, decide where they want to be. So that's cool and all, but then you get to the next volume, and that's when we start digging into like the mystery of the faceless men, because this is something that's like hinted at in the first couple of volumes, but doesn't become like a huge issue. It's like until volume 3, when it's revealed that one of the um one of the bit players, a guy who's believed by Edward's colony to have killed his wife and daughter, and exiled for this, but he claims that no, it was the faceless men who took them. And everyone's kind of like, yeah, right. It's like, we've never seen these faceless men, so you're just crazy. We're gonna kick you out before you kill any of the rest of us. Well, turns out this guy was not kidding, and these faceless men are actually like a huge deal. They're actually the main it's like the main civilization in Oblivion. They just haven't encountered like Edward's colony. It's like because like they're it's like because their civilization is being encroached on by a fung by a biological growth called well, the growth. So like they're having to deal, while they're dealing with this. It's like they eventually find out that, oh my god, like there's these other creatures living here. It's like, what do they want? What are they doing here? It's like, so we've got to take care. take care of them. That's kind of what happens, in volumes 3 and 4, is once they finally find out about these humans living here, they want to, you know, find out just, what, like, how they're able to survive here. Also, like, can they, like, is their presence, like, hindering, like, the growth in in some way? So, on one hand, it's like I mean, I can understand, like, like the need to, like, find a new direction for, the series after, like, its main, like, questions have been wrapped up after the first year. Um, but the thing is, like, it's the direction that Kirkman, like, comes up with is kind of all right. It's basically, it's like, hey, we're dealing with an alien race. It's like, and we're just trying to figure out, like, how do we deal with them? Like, I mean, like, to his credit, yeah, he realizes, like, this is not like a group that was meant to be, like, destroyed on site. It's like, we've got to, like, find a way to reason with them. But when that doesn't work, it's like they've got to, like, it's gonna we're gonna, like, I had send it to, like, aliens territory, and, like, we're gonna, fight them off. So it's so on one hand, like, a lot of, like, the second year volumes, 3 through 4, is kind of set up for, like, a big, humans versus, like, Kuthal fight. And that's what we find out these aliens are, or, like, the heavens of Oblivion are. And but it's not until later that we find out that, that they're at the mercy of this growth. And also, it's like we also find out early, like, that there's, like, a couple, like, class divisions with them. Like, there's, like, the Royal Guard, like, the people who are, like, who fight to protect the, it's like the ruling class, like, of the Kuthal, and also the Gozan, which is basically, like, kind of their elite army class. It's like the people who are meant to, like, take on and attack any threats, like that the Kuthal face. And it's their leader, Dakul, that emerges as, like, kind of like a big bad, because he just wants to figure out, how do I kill these humans in order to, like, to stem off the threat they they present. So yeah, that's kind of like, where we are with, like, the second year. It's basically, like, like, recognizing, like, the specific threat presented by the Kuthal, and also, like, the humans trying to get back, like, the other humans have been captured, because the Kuthal, take out one of their first actions when when they realize they're able to get to Edward's colony, is to kidnap them all. That's what they do, and that's something they pull off, along with, hey, we're just taking Edward's, significant other and his kid as well. So you've got the personal reason for Ed just saying, like, I want to get back and, try and take out like, rescue my wife and kid. It's like, and that's it kind of drives his actions there. Like, Nathan is, like, more reasonable about this, but at the same time, he winds up in a situation where he's basically stranded, like, in Oblivion at the end of this year. And then the next part of the story picks up 3 years later, when while it's like well while Nathan is basically working with a sympathetic Kuthal scientist named Gakal. It's like, who used to head the Gozan Legion, but basically, like, left it because he wanted to find a way to, like, save his people from the growth. It's like they're trying to figure out a way to, stop things, but then when they finally find out that it's like that Dakul and the rest of the Gozan Legion have found a way to replicate, um it's like Nathan's, like, dimension hopping tech. They realize that it's time to, they've got to find a way to, like, to head this off at the pass. Which point Nathan tells them that, I've actually, like, been able to repair my stuff for, like, a year now, but, I've been working with you in hopes that this wouldn't come to pass. So Nathan jumps back to Earth, lets everyone know what's going on. It's like, and, it's like, in this series, like, prepares for its big, like, climax, as, like, they as Nathan leads the charge against the, like, the Gozan Legion, led by led by Dakul, and that's where Volume 5 ends with Nathan having fought against Dakul, but also feudally so in the sense that three of the like Earth's biggest cities, Los Angeles, Hong Kong, and Paris, have all been taken to oblivion as part of a you know first strike, um, in order to like for the Kuthal to hey, we're just letting you know, like, hey, we're here and we're gonna like show you who's boss now. So that's basically where Volume 5 ends. Volume 6, basically has like Nathan and the Gozal Legion and his brother and also Nathan's girlfriend Heather, trying to find a way to head this off that doesn't involve like the death of every human or Thal. It's like on both sides, and yeah, they kind of they kind of pull that off, but at the same time, when they do, it's like they also realize that, oh, the humans, well, they've got their own plans, after they win this war. And so what are we going to do? What are the humans going to do? Like, once they realize that, Oblivion is full of resources, it's like that they can use like for their own ends. It's, it's like, it's a situation where like, where Nathan realizes that, oh man, it's like humans terrible. In fact, like when he talks about this with like Gakal, like he's like, all sentient life is terrible, man, because it's all just gonna like, like just gonna like work for its own ends, and they've got to find a way in order to like so that everyone basically everyone kind of like loses in this scenario. And as far as like things go, it's like it's kind of like the same straightforward resolution that you'd expect after reading this series, because rereading it, I can't say that I gained a greater appreciation for Oblivion Song. I mean, it's like I think, I don't. Kirkman is definitely not a bad writer. I mean, he's definitely got like you know a strong knowledge of what needs to work in terms of like a good solid genre story down, in terms of like you've got to know about like the main character, and like and what drives them. It's like in their like in their mindset, and why they're doing what they're doing. Same goes to the supporting cast as well, and also like their opposition as well. Enough to know that the opposition isn't necessarily bad, but that they're doing what they're doing like for their own reasons. And all this stuff is in play in Oblivion Song, but it's also in play in a way that feels very straightforward. Like it's all pretty simple. It's all what you'd expect. And most crucially, there aren't really any huge surprises, for this for this series. I mean, yeah, like there are some bits where it's like, like I think that worked better than others. Like there's this bit in the final issue with that basically like sums up um Nathan and Edward's relationship in a way that feels really well done. But at the same time, it's like just more of an understanding of just what um what makes these stories work, as opposed to any actual surprise that is had that's meant to be had from them. It's like you're just going like you're gonna read this, and and you can probably see like a lot of the twists coming, and there's not gonna be a lot of stuff here that just makes you go, oh wow. It's like I've never seen that before in this kind of story. And that's honestly kind of like disappointing, and and upsetting as well. I will say that I don't think this is a bad story, but it's just like the lack of surprise coming from someone who is like established himself as someone who understands like genre conventions so well, that see like this kind of like straightforwardness just feels kind of disappointing. Um, Also, the art from artist Lorenzo de Felici, he's I think he's really solid. And I realized I wrote a lot of the flattering stuff about his like storytelling skills like in my previous reviews, and I think that he's good with the overall look of the series. It's like, and also with creating an alien environment in like Oblivion, and like the Faceless Men as well. Oh, and also one other thing is that with the Faceless Men, they're kind of like a very fairly standard issue alien race. I mean, like they're just kind of like warriors fighting against like the humans, and they're just kind of like there. It's like, in terms of like, they're just meant to be the alien, the other in the story. And it's kind of disappointing, especially when you get to the bit where, oh, like, hey, we're talking about the Gozan. It's like, and like they're meant to be like the elite, like fighting force of the Kuthal, but you never learn enough about them beyond that in order to make them resonate beyond the fact that, oh, they're like the elite fighting force of this alien race. And that's all they are. Oh, and also, they've got this like ritualized combat that allows, like someone to challenge them, for leader of their order, which is something that Nathan's able to pull out in volume 5, even though it's something that hasn't really been, discussed at all before that point. So that's kind of, so I mean, like, there's kind of like, I think that the world building for this series could have been handled better. But also, it's like I also realized I started talking about the art, from Dave Felici. I think that he's good with the storytelling in terms of like keeping you invested, keeping you engaged in what's going on. In terms of like like overall detail, yeah, he's fine. And also, a lot of the characters, like early on, they've got this kind of like hangdog face in the sense that they're just kind of like upset or depressed. They're always visibly upset or depressed about what's going on with their situation, and that's kind of like, oh, okay, that's a thing you can do, but it's not actually like really engaging. It's like, and like I said, I think his work is more engaging on a storytelling level rather than just like something that just really invests me. It's like it's solid art, but it's not just kind of like art that like really elevates a story and takes it to the next level. I mean, it's like it works for what's going on here, but I can't say it's like it does anything more than that. And I think that actually kind of summarizes my feeling with the series as well. It's a good, solid, like science fiction adventure story, but it really doesn't, like engage me more than that. It's like I can appreciate what Kirkman and Felici and Dave Felici have did with the story in terms of telling it, but I can't say that it's really on the same level of what Kirkman has delivered elsewhere. It's like, I mean, in terms of like what he's done, it's like, I'm not surprised that he decided to wrap this up with volume 6, because I can't say it just really caught fire in the same way that his other series have. I mean, yeah, it's like when when you're talking about comparing stuff to Invincible and The Walking Dead, you're talking about like some of the very best independent comics that have come out. It's like in recent memory, but at the same time, it's just kind of like this is just fine as far as like your Kirkman's like output goes. I mean, it's not bad. It's certainly readable, but the man is clearly capable of better. And honestly, it's like I have better hopes for like for fire like for firepower, because that managed to like nail the feeling of like Invincible. It's like the whole like like grounded humans like soap opera combined with superhero actions like story that that series delivered upon. It's like, and I think that series like has more potential to like to surprise me. It's like and it's like and deliver on better stories in the future than what we got here. So overall verdict on Oblivion Song, not bad, not great, but perfectly readable. But if you haven't read it by now, then it's like maybe
You think
maybe
it's a
maybe
pass?
wait until what?
You think it's a pass then if you haven't read it by now?
Uh, I don't know. It's like I imagine that the way Kirkman likes reading, likes publishing stuff in these compendium editions, like this is like 36 issues. So if he releases like a one volume like Oblivion Song edition, then maybe wait until that comes out before you read this. So like hey, like I said, it's not bad, but I can't say it's not a must read. That's all I'm saying right here.
All right. Yeah, somewhat of an interesting concept. Um, Science fiction wise, I guess, but as a foundation.
Yeah,
Um,
yes, I heard that there is going to be they're working on a movie at some point. That Jake Gyllenhaal was attached to play Nathan Cole, so maybe we'll see that at some point. Maybe we won't. Oh well.
maybe we won't.
No
Maybe,
great loss at this point.
and if you saw it, maybe it would be better. Who knows? But it's probably not going to happen. Then that's fine.
Hmm.
Cool. So, do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Okay, well I know I had initially talked about doing Don't Enough to Fight as the next one, but Rob is apparently unavailable during this time, so I'm gonna kick that down to later in the road. So maybe I will just do like some kind of like like break breaking case of emergency podcast thing, like with maybe Powers, maybe Sweet Tooth, or maybe even Decorum. Jonathan Hickman and Mike Hudson's big ass one volume, maybe one volume credo and title that was collected recently. It's like, and I haven't gotten around to writing about because it's a big book and it's got a lot of or big ideas about a very simple story. So maybe that'll be next time. We shall see.
All right. And we'll talk to you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, later, everyone.